Local folklore mentions that the name Inalahan came from the words Ina, meaning to shine upon, and Lahan, which means group or travelers. About 300 years ago, Saint Joseph, patron saint of Humatak, was moved to Inalahan. In the move, a procession of candles and torches could be seen. Hence, Inalajan became Inalahan, the village of the light. This program deals with the story of a dark period in the history of Inalahan. Listen now to stories of its warriors.
It was December 8, we were at the church when Frank Kinata, honking his horn, a taxi driver, he was coming from Sumay. And then he's announcing that people had to run to hide because the Japanese start bombing, already in Sumay. So it happened that my mother, my sister had her first communion. So my mother baked cake, and we carried that cake to the end of the village, and that's where we hide.
Before they start the war, we went to Mass December 8. Then after the Mass, about 1 hour later, that's the time Francisco Kinara, he went to work, and then they don't complete go to work. They see that all the plan for the Japanese, they already start bomb. So they go back and they tell all the public from Inarajan that to run and hide because they already start throw bomb in Sumay. And that's the time all the people like crazy, they go and they run and hide. And some of them, they don't know where to go, because they are shocked.
During the wartime, when the Japanese occupied the island, all the Chamorro people that could work, it's nothing to stay at home. Even the ladies go to the rice field, and also the husband go to the rice field. Everybody is going to the Japanese project. But when, we work together the rice field with the ladies, and they got small children. We have the children there one side of the rice farm, put it there, and we start working.
The Japanese came, and it's a little bit settled here in Inarajan. The Japanese is a little bit settled here in Inarajan. So they pick some Chamorros, like myself, they pick some Chamorros to show them all the where the people is, and they asked us to come out and take our badge, The Japanese is gonna give us a badge, because if we don't do that and we travel around, and the Japanese saw us that we're not wearing that badge, they're gonna kill us. So we all come out and we take our badge, and the badge they gave us, we have to carry it everywhere we go. We carry it everywhere we go, so they won't bother us. The Japanese won't bother us. Then after that, they start taking us out to work, for them. I work on the rice field. My father and myself work on the rice field. Not only my father and myself, but everybody who can work, go out and work. We work in the rice field until the Americans' airplane came, and we plant rice, we plant vegetable. The younger children are planting the vegetable, and us, adult, we plant rice.
Ane man halum it's Japanese man makam ham ne. Gua haman mana fandanya todo it's Chamorro. We halum gi pinat ahiti finatasa datunanya. No para otwang batu na lugar at so mana fandanya hambuhi. Pues ane humalum I man up mamambuhi na tiempo fana ang gua ha. 3 o 4 meses na man mafati Amerikano. Pues taza gui lo kita lo na mama mina gini iguado ha soda limay jan taza an gua pinin ang guahan no jan suni kamuti jan ging guahan ay piniksay mo tagwinaw baboy patgwaka wana impino azo pa uno maas na sa taza kaun ay sistana ud tabira tatisti I kaun ay lokit taza antes ang gin mamuno haw baboy na patgwaka nisita on asni za umpo lugi on sahwan ni mano na ti para u inilo nay law maas niya ato ta mapod pa sino matawla I sepdan ikat ni siya nay pues itempun sa panis manafandan niya ham gi ungkam gi anay pa gu anay istaha no mat astaha la amam di mati sa panis sa panis anay pa gu man matug wini hanafan matso am ni famalawan di famaadzam para man mananum fai kalangkasi dosam na inatsumelo no finili na gwaw sa gwaw masamko pues mana fatso 6 meses gi fai halum fai pues angin is matesti tempun anglo na gi tempun sa panis man na suaham gi fai zaman na huluham zaman na fan manon man hadinam di famalawan na jan gwaha siya lalahi law hasal lalahi sa man fan hano todo para alawa buhina tiempo pisi etsikwi no gwa naman manonum ham mungkus napa bilinghenas fihodi siya di walo mamami law ahi ti parahami pre sa panisa no sinya ham buhi man nyuli ti sinya man nyuli ha solo walo mo paron hano do umbindigit sa panisa ta sa man gumaha bentanihan ni itagano asukat manayaw manaw man mamimidya ipigas ilifinonya kilo un tausa no pues adsoha
That was 1942, the year of 1942, when the Japanese brings their they put a store here in Inarajan. That store over there is used to be Mr. San Nicolas' store. So there's no more a store of Mr. San Nicolas there when the Japanese comes in to Guam. So, but that building is still standing up at that time when the Japanese invaded Guam. So the Japanese took that and use it as a store, their own store, They bring a few things of their own, to sell it to us because they're giving us little money, with their own money from working for them. So my oldest sister always come to this store from where we're staying there in Careta, I mentioned before, in Careta, over there in the jungle, and buy, with that Japanese money, and buy rice. They're selling us a little bit rice, and sugar, and a little bit coffee, and I forgot what else, what's the rest, I forgot the rest of their stuff they're selling it. But then our produce in the place where we are staying, my sister brought it over, carried in a carabao back, and they put up something on our carabao. They put up something, and tied it all around the carabao, so that my sister can carry the coconut oil, or making coconut oil, bananas, and sweet potatoes.
Sto poco 68 ne, lo tatti quello che anti di gira con la gene 18 16 perché non è tempo. Ma con niam per all'ogua quello che tempo sa panis ne in 1941 o 1942 guina man makonni ba poi sa mia ne jumama gadi all'ogua ni pico Paul sa equipment heavy equipment ti ba siya ne heavy a tempo per na level la jo siya cos e all'ogua also ti tota na la tuli talo no manono watu bin.
All the husband, all the good workers have to go to the soldiers, work with the soldiers, building Japanese forces in the side of all the beach around the island. We help the Japanese making a hole and different trap for when the U.S. invasion here in the island. We make a foxhole. We dig a deep hole for the American tank and the American dog to trap it. You know, one time it's very funny. We cut the coconut trees. We make a support both sides of the road. We cut long trees. We close the road to make like a fence to hold up the American tank and the dog. When that project was finished, they tried to see the capacity of the the things that we have to block the American dog. Once they use their own bulldozer, it's nothing that could stop always like a grass, the bulldozer. But when the invasion start coming in, once they see the dog floating in and the tank, they get to the beach, go all the way through to the mountain.
I always cry because when my mother said, get up and we go to the shelter, I know already that there because I don't like to come in there. It's kind of cold and it's muddy. And only they put to sit down is Federico leaf and the Biro nut leaf, and I don't like to stay there. So sometimes they cover my mouth because not to hear us, the Japanese. Because, you know, when somebody are crying, you know, they let go out and they give a punishment.
One time, I'll tell this, one time I already thought that I wouldn't be alive because we were cutting the grass in the rice field and it's an open place over there where the rice field planting the rice. And we cutting the grass to start planting another rice, another rice, because we already harvested the first one. So the grass grew, grow too long, and we cannot plant the rice there. We have to clean the grass. So cut the grass, and here comes the airplane, throwing the machine gun down on top of us, and I grab all of us. People who are working in that place, we grab the grass, we lie down and we grab the grass and we cover ourselves. We cover ourselves with the grass so the plane won't see us. But I really think that they already saw us, but they know that we're not a Japanese because they're looking for Japanese, not us Chamorro. And most of the time, after that, when we see the airplane is coming to, we know the plane position when they're going to drop the machine gun. We know it. So we run and hide it, by the river over there next to the rice field. We had one time I threw myself down in the river. I know how to swim, It's good, very good that I know how to swim, but one time I threw myself down in the river because our Japanese boss is with us. He's following us for him to hide too from the airplane.
Si Duenas, tiempon niya na tiempon sa panis si Duenas. Si Duenas makto gimanhong ginapali. Sa jangin hatungo hadzin na mafanyago na patgun humahanaw gihalum taon jatak papangi gihalum taon. Edzugi ofisyal niya si Duenas. Pues, guaha stagwi kata ni hagas kumadzus. Guaha na biyahe na idistri. Edzu si Duenas mawarning anay bumimisa sa tisinyam bi man yung manafan nila o kandit law si pali man yung gidangis wipes disti edsuno malalat diha bihi palit na tisinya haw no gumahano kandit wigiha gipuingin ay za inor na lasing ko gi tatangmak na man mimisam tingas pali Duenas law ang ginatungo si pali Duenas hard sino nuevo na manyago pues gua si pali Duenas ka na kabats buhi na tiempo pues humahano para ihalumtano sa na takpapang ipat kumpa.
Oh, there was abandoned, even the church there at that time. No work at the church. We have to follow the rule of the Japanese at that time. So there's nothing there the church to do. Even the priests there didn't stay at the church because only 2 priests here in the island, Father Duenas and Monsignor Kauru, the only 2 priests here in the island because all the U.S. priests are taken by the Japanese over to Japan as a prisoner, and only 2 Gamanian priests here in Guam.
I was a young girl, and we're not allowed to go and see Father Duenas at the time when he's been punished. If you are around and trying to see what they're doing with Father Duenas, then you're going to end it getting punished too.
I remember though when we were working at the rice field, you know, we went and my friend to have lunch in the village. So at the end of the village, that's Nicola's house. On our way, we saw Father Duenas, you know, lying on the bench with his head up on the hot sun. So we rushed, you know, because we're afraid that the Japanese gonna caught us and we gonna be punished. But we saw lying in the bench, you know, in the backyard of that San Nicolas house.
The Spanish priest here in Inarajan, one of the Spanish priests lived in Inarajan. So Father Duenas replaced the Spanish priest here. So all the priests that come in to Inarajan is very close to me, and I know all about the priests that come in Inarajan. You know that Father Duenas, huh? Father Duenas was pegged by tweet, and he was secured one place here in Inarajan, that Flores Ranch. He was ordered to stay in that ranch, and he never moved from that place, because once he moved that house, that ranch is going to be killed. So, you know, my wife is working at the rice field. So at that morning, I gave my wife a bottle of bee honey. So you take this and give it to Father Duenas there in his place. So she take the bottle of honey. So in the evening, my wife come to the ranch back. So she's just taking the quart of bee honey. Say, why you don't say why you don't give the Father Duenas? Maybe Father Duenas died before dark. Say, why? He started weeping very hard. So, and that evening, the army truck, because Father Duenas could not hardly stand up already. When the dump truck come, the 4 Japanese hold it and throw it up to Sinanya. So he was calm there in Sinanya for months and a half. He with one of Inarajan people like that. You know about Oppo? One Oppo? You don't know about that. He's a resident here in Inarajan that time. He with Father Duenas. But you know, one Oppo knows that they are going to be killed, because one Oppo here in Inarajan with Father Duenas done the Bian Sinanya. And the time that it almost to be killed, the Japanese tell one Oppo to come to Inarajan to visit his family. So one Oppo was give a little note to put that in his pocket. And when she comes to Iran, you have to give the Japanese here in Iran, the officer of the Japanese here in Iran, that note. So he gives the note to that Japanese, and the Japanese tells him, you're going to be killed there with Father Duenas. Father Duenas knows already that he's going to be killed, but he's not afraid. See, one Oppo changed his way. 3 of them changed their way. And Father Duenas continued because he'd rather go and obey what has been ordered than to change his way.
They're crying when they go back to work after lunch. They're crying when they come to the rice field, and told us that Father Duenas is punishing over there at there's a house, 2-story house over there by the end of the village. The Japanese is staying there. Those Japanese who are punishing Father Duenas are staying on that house. You know what they call it? They call it kaikuntait. Kaikuntait. They name those people who punishing, giving the punishment. They call it kaikuntait at that time. So those people are staying on that 2-story house. So these people who come to the rice field after lunch, crying, they're crying so much, and told us that Father Duenas punishing by the Japanese there. They took a small bench like that bench outside the office door, about that size and that long, and they make Father Duenas lie down on that bench, and they tied him up. The Japanese tied him up, and they keep on hitting him, and they drowning them with water.
So he was brought from Inarajan down to Sinahanya when Father Duenas was suspected by tweet. But I don't know whether that's right or not, but I think it doesn't right. But he was suspected by that Father Duenas knows about it, and that's why he was taken from Inarajan down to Sinahanya. And about 2 months he was killed there in Taui. And the following year, when about a year after the war, you know, the bishop at that time asked the father of Father Duenas, because the skeleton of Father Duenas is going to take it from Taui, and the bishop asked the father of Father Duenas, where did she want to put his son skeleton, the skeleton. So the Father Duenas' father said, my son is Inarajan in the beginning when he started to be a priest. So Inarajan is the capital of my son, so I want his skeleton to take it back to Inarajan when they take it there from Taui. So I'm the one who make the grave then set the church for when the skeleton comes from Taui to put it there in front of the altar there in Inarajan. That's the story of Father Duenas at that time.
Ane maulim Americano, ungara manatijam na sindolo siya. Bueno sa perendirihi lugar. Tahu dah dia perintatidia ni hukuk dan space ni na man loncam talo. Sa esta ni Americano saungan na pumas esta. Pues talam talo guatu gigualo.
They tell us that when the plane fly, we hear the plane running, we have to run to the shelter. So they do that, and then when they know that the American come, they tell us to go. But you know what they're gonna do? to the old Chamorro. They're gonna kill old Chamorro, but God don't permit to do that. They're gonna kill all the Chamorro here in Guam. So we leave the camp in the night. Just like 7 o'clock in the night, we're marching up. And up here in Tinaga, there's, before you come in Inarajan, the 2 bridges that you pass before here in the village, we rest there. And then when already about half an hour resting, they tell us to go to marching up to Menengon. So only up of the hill, they tell us to go back because the bridge on Menengon is broken. So all the people there, they say, thank you, God, because you saved all your kids down here in this world. That's what I remember.